Currently, the biggest issue that we're working on in Austin is the tax-free textbook initiative. The exciting thing is it's looking really good right now. There's a lot on the table, but the possibility will come that when students arrive on campus in the fall, they will not have to pay taxes on their purchases for textbooks, which we all know are outrageously expensive already. So that's an exciting thing that's going on in Austin. Along with that, the things that student government's legislative relations have been working on is looking over the student regent. Currently there's some discussion about getting the student regent voting power and whether or not that's necessary or whether or not that would take away from student voice. There's also discussion on whether or not the student regent should be chosen by merit or should they be chosen by which school they attend or which satellite school within the A&M system. There's some also discussion that's going on throughout Austin on whether or not the Student Service Fee Advisory Board should take over a greater responsibility in handling the funds or looking over the funds of a larger portion of student payments. There's countless things that are going on, but the most exciting one that I think, and the most plausible one that's taking place, is the tax-free textbooks.
Things that are going on in Austin. There's a lot of exciting things that the student body president has an opportunity to weigh in on. Tax-free textbooks, TTT. Also, right now, the Student Senate is working on a program where the students can get a rebate, and it's university-wide and it's at the state level where students can get a rebate. They already do get a rebate if they're within a certain amount of hours. In fact, Christina Campbell's working on it right now, and she just portrayed it to the core, so the core classes won't take away from that rebate. There's issues like that are affecting the student body in each and individual ways that need to be brought in front of the legislature. One thing that I think is important, though, is when you look at the price and the cost of our education is, first off, I think that's a priority. I think that's one thing that is driven in Austin that is one of the priorities here, because we need to maintain a great value here at Texas A&M. We have a contract with the state of Texas, and therefore we have a contract with the legislature of the state of Texas to educate Texans across income spectrums and across races, majors, and everything else. We have a contract that we need to abide by. And I think that's one of the most important things that legislative relations needs to be in contact with in Austin, is making sure we're fulfilling that contract, because that is our job. That's what we were created for in 1876 when we originally got our money through the Morrill Act, was to educate the state of Texas. And we need to make sure that we're keeping our bosses, in essence, happy, because we are on contract with the state of Texas to do just that. Wireless internet on campus is clutch. I think that it's important in the fact that so many areas across campus I think what's neat is when you do have wireless internet across campus, you can go anywhere on campus, and it's kind of like always being in a classroom, which is really neat. I know I have a laptop, and I love just going to certain buildings where I know we've got wireless internet, except I have to always log in and go through. I think it's something that would be important. If we did have wireless internet across campus, I think one of the biggest things that would need to be fixed is every time you log off, your computer kind of shuts down, and you have to go through a process to log all the way back in. And I know, at least for me, I always have to take my computer, and I have a Mac, so it's tough for them to do, but I have to take it to the computer center desk and have them log me back in and go through all the jumps and hoops. We need to simplify that process, especially if we're going to have a wireless internet all the way across campus. It deals with meeting with our IT people. It's exploring things like student service fees and things to that effect, and seeing if it's necessary that those prices may have to go up in order to get more from the student services in order to make wireless internet happen on campus.
It's funny, when you talk to students about things that need to be remedied at campus, one of the first things that students often say is the fact that wireless internet is not accessible all across Texas A&M. And we have one of the largest campuses in the world, and so in doing so, the utilization of Wi-Fi everywhere is not completely plausible because of expense. But the exciting thing is that the Vice President of Information Technology has already stated that if students were to come together and student opinion was to show that Wi-Fi needs to be increased as a priority, it's a completely attainable goal. It can be bumped up on that priority list, and it's not proven that it can be found everywhere on campus within months. But the fact is that the Vice President of Information Technology has already stated that if students were to ask for that as a higher priority, it's a certainly attainable one.
I think that one of the keys to that is if the students ask. I think it's pretty obvious that in the day and age that we are in right now, with Palm Pilots, with cellular telephones on everybody's hands, it is something that's going to be necessary. I don't think we need to wait for student opinion to tell us through a poll that it's necessary for us to have wireless internet now. I think everybody in this room would love it if we had wireless internet, and would not be, I don't know if we can find anybody that would be opposed to having wireless internet all the way across campus, to where we could create an entire open air classroom basically, where anywhere on campus you can have an internet, learn, and do things to that effect. I think it's simply a matter of getting it done and pursuing just that goal.
The problem right now with having it set at the higher priority is that it would come at the cost and the expense to other students of other information technology priorities that are currently taking place. One of those is expounding on the idea of gateway.tmu.edu, where you wouldn't have to sign in 9 times to access your internet resources. There's a number of information and technology things that are taking place on campus. Wi-Fi is a little lower on the priority list when it comes to students. And to increase that priority wouldn't be the easiest thing because it would knock a few other things down on that chain. But it's certainly an attainable goal if that's what the students are asking for. We have a wonderful resource on our hands that's already taking place. I know Christina Campbell herself is working on it. She's gotten a shout out twice now. But I know that our senators and our community relations team within the executive branch have a great relationship already, or a growing relationship already, with the governments of Bryan and College Station. Our ability to represent that opinion is to build relationships and build a trustworthy relationship at that. We need to stay on everything, but probably one of the greatest assets that we as students could accomplish is by voting in local elections. If we could increase students at A&M's participation in voting in local elections, it'll give Bryan and College Station a greater willingness to listen to what we have to say. Currently, student participation is down so much that they can pass things like the law in Bryan towards roommates, and they don't think a thing about it because students aren't participating in those elections. So that's something that we could increase to increase student opinion. But I would say that the student body president needs to go out of his way to go and build those relationships, but also needs to utilize a team of people, both senators and in the executive council, that are building relationships on a more consistent basis, because the student body president can't offer nearly so much time as they would be able to do.
What's important to realize is College Station is growing. College Station does not solely rely on Texas A&M like it used to in the past. They're not at our beck and call anymore. The fact of the matter is that there's people that want to put in very pricey homes over in this historic district over here, and there's students that want to continue to live in shacks over there. And we've got a clash of interests. It's true, and there's nothing that's going to necessarily stop that progress. We need to attack it at a different level. I would love to see all the students vote either, but in this last election, we got 1 out of every 4 students to vote in our own campus-wide election. I highly doubt that, and that was with tons of advertisement, tons of people out there, and still only 11,000 students voted in our last election. So I'd love to see students come out and vote, but I don't necessarily know if that is a possible goal. What I think is a possible goal is to recognize where College Station wants to go and recognize where A&M fits in that plan. Right now, we do have legislative relations that works mostly with the state of Texas. The student government is not required to simply have that one group just working with people in Austin. Student government can have an entire committee if it becomes necessary that works simply with College Station City and the Bryan City Council. I think steps to that effect are what's important, and steps recognizing their conflict of interest and our conflict of interest together, and seeing where they want to go and seeing where we want to go. Because, like I said, it's not the same little town that surrounded College Station a long time ago. It's a growing city with needs of its own, and we're growing, they're growing. It's necessary that we take some different approaches to our relationships with them. But it is knowing where we match up together.
We've had the wonderful privilege of having Blaze Curry as the student advocate for community relations this year. Student Government's Executive Council has a wonderful team that's fully devoted and committed solely to the relationships with our local governments and our local community. And they have a wonderful job in doing that. They do great co-programming when necessary to work with legislative relations, but community relations has done a wonderful job at handling that so far. On top of that, as far as getting Aggies to vote in local elections, Blaze also began a program this last year known as Aggie Vote. We got more students deputized to get students registered to vote than ever before. People were shocked down in Bryan at how many people were deputized, and it was an amazing program. But it was just the very beginning, and it wasn't nearly so large scale as we'd like to see it in future years.
What I'm saying, we don't give up on getting students to vote, but I do think we have immediate problems with the zoning, housing zoning, and things of that effect in both cities, which need immediate answers, not necessarily a growing program that may be able to be in effect in 10 years. We've got problems now that need to be effective and need to be fixed.